Today, we're unpacking one of the absolutely most remarkable industrial stories of the modern era. We're looking at Volkswagen, a name that literally translates to the people's car. We're going to trace this company's wild journey from stamping out metal in the 1930s all the way up to its radical, multi-billion-dollar digital future today. It's a massive story of survival, incredible scale, and, right now, a really desperate race to rewire its very DNA. Here's our roadmap for today. First up, the people's car origins. Then, building a global empire. Third, the EV and software pivot. Fourth, the Rivian partnership. And finally, rewiring the future. Okay, let's dive into section 1, the people's car origins. So to understand where Volkswagen is heading, we really have to understand exactly where and how they started. Their origins are just deeply tied to 1930s geopolitics. Founded in 1937 by the German Labor Front, the objective was pretty simple. Have the renowned engineer Ferdinand Porsche design an affordable car for the everyday citizen. That was the KDF wagon. But, as World War II broke out, mass civilian production ground to a halt, the factory pivoted to military vehicles, and by 1945, it was pretty much reduced to rubble by bombing raids. But here is the wild turning point. A British Army officer, Major Ivan Hurst, actually saw potential in that rubble. He literally had unexploded bombs cleared out, restarted the assembly lines to supply the British military, and by 1949, handed control over to the new West German government. And that original design? Well, it went on to become the globally iconic Volkswagen Beetle, eventually selling over 21 million units. Moving right along to section 2, building a global empire.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how massive they became. As huge as the Beetle was, VW executives realized early on that they simply couldn't survive as a one-car wonder. They had to grow and grow aggressively. So they didn't just build new cars, they bought up entire companies in these massive waves. In '65, getting Audi gave them a foothold in the premium market and brought in some really vital water-cooled engine tech. In the '80s and '90s, they grabbed Spain's Seat and the Czech Republic Skoda to dominate Europe's volume markets. But 1998, man, that was what I like to call a massive luxury flex. They snapped up Bentley and Lamborghini. Then fast forward to 2012, after this totally wild corporate battle where Porsche actually tried to buy VW, the tables flipped and VW absorbed Porsche. Throw in commercial trucking with MAN and Scania, and they literally built an empire, selling everything from your everyday hatchbacks to multi-million-dollar hypercars. Which brings us to section 3, the EV and software pivot. Now, despite all that incredible hardware dominance, the current era, led by CEO Oliver Blume, is easily one of the most volatile in automotive history. VW is basically being forced to transition from being absolute masters of traditional hardware into a software-driven tech giant. And to really understand the stakes of this pivot, you have to look at VW's modern scale. Every single year, the Volkswagen Group delivers roughly 9 million vehicles globally. 9 million! That is an almost unfathomable amount of manufacturing muscle. And those 9 million vehicles, they generate over 320 billion euros in annual revenue. They are for sure a modern Goliath. But here's the catch. Big ships are incredibly hard to turn around, and the waters they're navigating right now are incredibly choppy. Their electric evolution has been a bit of a mixed bag. On the bright side, their electric ID lineup, which includes the ID3, ID4, ID7, and that super nostalgic ID Buzz, is getting massive traction over in Europe. They're also rolling out more affordable models like the ID Polo. But there are some massive hurdles. Early on, VW tried to build its own internal software unit called Cariad. Honestly, it was a disaster. It triggered severe glitches and critical delays in their electric rollouts. Add to that the brutal competitive pressure in China, which has traditionally been their most profitable market, where domestic EV brands are fighting incredibly hard. Combine all that with geopolitical tensions and shifting tariffs, and VW was forced into some strict cost discipline just to protect their margins. They quickly realized a hard truth. They could not fix their software problems alone. So, that leads us straight into section 4, the Rivian partnership. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the contrast here. This urgent need for a digital rescue led to a massive $5.8 billion joint venture officially called RV Tech. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a global conglomerate partner with a young American startup? Well, look at the dynamic. VW is a hardware titan, but their Cariad software glitches literally caused crippling delays for major flagships like the Porsche Macan EV. Rivian's problem, on the other hand, is purely financial. They are absolute geniuses at building software-defined vehicles, but as a startup, they were burning through cash incredibly fast trying to scale their upcoming R2 and R3 models. So it's the ultimate win-win. VW brings the billions in capital, and Rivian brings the digital DNA. And finally, Section 5, Rewiring the Future. So how does this independent $5.8 billion joint venture actually work on a technical level? The core of this transformation is a concept called zonal architecture. Historically, cars have dozens of tiny separate computers from all sorts of different suppliers. One for the windows, one for the brakes, one for the radio. It's a complete logistical nightmare to update. Rivian's tech replaces all of that. Zonal architecture consolidates all those controls into just a few ultra-powerful central computers. This literally rewires Volkswagen's brain. It radically reduces miles of physical wiring inside the vehicle, and more importantly, it allows the car's entire behavior to be updated seamlessly over the internet, exactly like your smartphone. And the pace of this joint venture, it is completely uncharacteristic for the traditional auto industry. They are moving fast. Step 1. Engineers from VW, Audi, and Scout Motors embedded with Rivian to run intense extreme climate testing in Sweden and Phoenix, and the systems performed flawlessly. Step 2. Because they hit those strict milestones, VW officially unlocked and transferred an extra $1 billion to Rivian, securing the startup's stability. Now we're in Step 3. Massive cross-pollination. Hundreds of German software specialists are literally flying out to Palo Alto, California to deeply learn Rivian's code. The impact this has on VW's EV strategy absolutely cannot be overstated. By sharing this architecture, VW bypasses years of trial and error. We're talking about vehicles with this new tech hitting the market as early as 2027. It completely revitalizes premium brands like Audi and Porsche and powers the framework for their newly resurrected, rugged brand Scout Motors. And for us consumers, it means an end to laggy touchscreens, it means highly responsive infotainment, superior battery management, and advanced automated driving. Plus, because VW can share this tech across millions of mass-market vehicles, they can aggressively lower their production costs, which finally opens the door for profitable, budget-friendly entry-level EVs. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We've watched Volkswagen survive a world war, build an unmatched global portfolio of brands, and now fundamentally rewire its entire approach to engineering. It really leaves us with this huge question. Is an American startup's digital DNA the ultimate key to keeping this German Goliath dominant in a post-combustion world? It certainly seems like software agility has become the true successor to manufacturing scale. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpacked all this today, and as always, keep asking the big questions.